Namo Dhamma Shiye Soha, O Namo Manju Shiye, Namo So Shiye, Namo Dhamma Shiye Soha, O Namo Manju Shiye, Namo So Shiye, Namo Dhamma Shiye Soha. 觉当这个出那来，将就把多难的给出去，大概青年这个从那边多那边这三个多吧，说说这个就是没多大，他们是你的肩膀是，上街心多面的路啊，你能叫困难那心啊，这吧说也多，不如让他们当当地呀大呀。Please adjust your sitting posture according to the 7 meditative postures of Vairocana. Think, all sentient beings have been my mothers. All sentient beings have been my mothers, not just once, but numberless times. All sentient beings are as kind as my mother in this life. Even though all kind mother sentient beings want happiness and do not want even a small suffering, due to mistakenly engaging with objects of adoptions and abandonment, they do not experience any happiness but suffering. In our minds, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if all kind mother sentient beings were to have excellent happiness and the causes of excellent happiness that are virtues. May they have excellent happiness and the causes of excellent happiness. I will cause them to have excellent happiness and the causes of excellent happiness. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. Next, we generate compassion towards all suffering mother sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if the bodies of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the entire class discordant with a completing virtue, such as pain, sickness, and harm caused from 4 elements. May their bodies be free from all discordant class. I'll free their bodies from the discordant class. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if the minds of all suffering mother sentient beings, free from the entire class discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as the sufferings of fear, and all coarse and subtle negative discursive thoughts. May their minds be free from the discordant class. I'll free their minds from the discordant class. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if the speech of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the entire class discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as lying and all coarse and subtle negative speech. May their speech be free from the discordant class. I will free their speech from the discordant class. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if the three doors of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from the entire class discordant with accomplishing virtue. May their three doors be free from the discordant class. I will free their three doors from the discordant class. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if all mother sentient beings were free from all suffering and the causes of suffering that are non-virtues. May they be free from all suffering and the causes of suffering. Our freedom from all suffering and the causes of suffering. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. Next we generate bodhicitta. First, we ask ourselves, who should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and lower realms? I should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and lower realms. Even though I should take the responsibility, I do not have the ability to place them in the state of perfect, complete enlightenment now. Who has such abilities? Only perfect, complete Buddha has the ability to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the precious state of enlightenment. Next, we generate all yoga mind, the aspiring conventional bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all other sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. These transform into a complete moonbeams at one's heart. And the ultimate bodhicitta, which is one's mind becoming of one taste, becoming of one taste with the emptiness of inherent existence of all phenomena. These transform into the aspect of a white five-pronged vajra on top of the moonbeams. Next, we meditate on the meaning of emptiness for a short while. The self and the aggregates do not exist as inherently one. If they were inherently If there were partless one, there will be false. It would be pointless to assert the self. Self would become many. Self would arise and disintegrate. It will be unreasonable to remember past lives. Karma one has done would be wasted. One would meet with karma that one has not done. Therefore, the self and the aggregates do not exist as inherently one. The self and the aggregates do not exist as inherently different. If they were inherently different, they would necessarily be established as unrelatedly others. Thus, the self and the aggregates neither exist as inherently one, nor as inherently different. Thus, is empty of inherent existence. As we always say, it is very important to conjoin the roots of virtue of our three doors with the practice of six perfections. As to conjoin these roots of virtue with the practice of six perfections, it is as follows. The first one is generosity. The nature of generosity is an intention of giving. These 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma is for the arising of happiness and freeing all sentient beings from sufferings. If we engage in this way, from within the manifestations of the intentions of giving, then these roots of virtue will be conjoined with the practice of six perfect, will be conjoined with the practice of generosity.
there is always the situation was managing. When there's some of the children, you know, when you change what's what I'm doing. So you want money. Yes, over the children, but the possibility it's just question on this.
Next is morality. The nature of morality is the minds of abandonment. During these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma, I will properly abandon my physical and verbal misdeeds without allowing them to manifest. If I engage in this manner, then these roots of virtue will be conjoined with the practice of morality.
To be simple, the simple was of the machine. Yes, I was a child because he the cell, the way the country cut it to my day, so too much to my mother in the set to be money. Yes, I was a China. It was a better question. Yes.
Next is patience. The nature of patience is a mind that is undisturbed. During these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma, I will patiently endure the hardships and sufferings of my body and mind. If I engage in this manner, then these roots of virtue will be conjoined with the practice of patience.
There is a give out choice for the church was one machine. Yes, I was a child. Yes, I was a child. But it was a better church question.
Next is joyous effort. The nature of joyous effort is a mind enthusiastic for virtue. I will joyfully and enthusiastically engage in the virtue of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma. If I engage in this manner, then these roots of virtue will be conjoined with the practice of joyous effort.
Okay, you say, you will say the something was one machine. Yes, the jail because on the said, Mongo, the 9 road. Yes, I was a GBB, shall see that you consider it. Yes, I was a jail. But they was together something
Next is concentration. The nature of concentration is a mind that single-pointedly focuses on the virtuous object. I will single-pointedly focus my mind on the virtuous activity of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma, and also on the words and meanings of the Dharma that I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on, without being overcome by distractions and discursive thoughts. If I engage in this manner, then these roots of virtue will be conjoined with the practice of concentration.
Actually, one day you were the hero of most of the machine. When yes, I was a GBC that about shitting on the shit over. Yes, I was a GBP, never he will do enough. And that day, it was a gather the church by the same ways.
The last one is wisdom. The nature of wisdom is a knower that thoroughly distinguishes phenomena. I will properly and unmistakably understand the words and meanings of the Dharma that I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on, together with the benefits of doing so. If I engage in this way, then these roots of virtue will be conjoined with the practice of wisdom.
Here it is a yes, project that the subject of what about lineage. I'll be sure soon. I mean, see you what you what is clear with Jesus.
Set a good motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this, I will listen to the holy teaching and practice properly in order to benefit sentient beings.
Found about hearing. Buddha Shawadi. Buddha Jawasa was a Buddha journey. such control, some gather with the suit one control, got a Mateva, got that was just so what that didn't matter to do with insurance.
So to continue, connection under the outlines of connection to scripture, and under this outline there are three subdivisions. The first one is how it was taught in the sutra on the 10 grounds. The second one is connecting the explanation to the Dharani-svara Raja Sutra. And the third one is connection to other sutras. So I'll briefly explain them.
That's such a go that Java Karesna. That's Sanji Makanda, such a go that Java Sanade. This Sinji said that the mother to be taking it. Well, Jamama Dabi, you are the mother to be taking it, the Mama Dabi. Nimbo, Chip, the Mama, Rinchi, you want to go Grandela, oh, it's a that's Sinji. Grandela, money, a Chinese in such what. Such a wood job, such a water, not combat, Rinchi, you sit it. Yeah, don't sit it. Let's see, Stalin dress was your face. And things about the answer. What? Somebody is what? That's that's on Sinji Kanda. The double do the sugar, Sinji said that digging little day, the mother to be digging. The Mama Daba, you know, for maintaining, digging Nibola, the Nibo, one of the mother body. You are more into joining. More develop upon it, changes to be said. It's a common job, but relax. Tanda, and give my one shot on that. It's a common anybody else in the Bomba. Take it in Josama, everybody can use it. Say, silent that what you are available page and that's a thing.
Some people know the Bombang, right?
Somebody has a double one time to go. Bomba said the sub book on the share.
So how he was taught in the Sutra on the 10 grounds, it says, using the analogy of the purifications of fine gold, the Sutra on the 10 grounds explains the underlying meaning of the gradual purification process, the non-purified suchness, or non-purified suchness with defilements, the nature of a sentient being's mind, through meditation on the antidote. By doing so, it also explains the gradual purification of the objects of abandonment on the path of seeing and meditation on the 10 grounds of Bodhisattva. So meaning, through the analogy of the purifications of fine gold, in this sutra, it explains, in this sutra, using the analogy, then Buddha taught the gradual purification process of the non-purified suchness with defilements, which is the minds of sentient beings, together with the modes of abiding of the minds of sentient beings. And then through cultivation, through meditation on the antidotes, or through cultivating the antidotes. So the gradual purification process of the minds of sentient beings, together with the modes of abiding of sentient beings, modes of abiding of sentient beings' mind, then is to cultivate antidotes. So by doing so, it also explains the gradual purification of the objects of abandonment on the path of seeing and meditation. So this talks about the objects of abandonment on the path of seeing, and also objects of abandonment by the path of meditation. So the objects of abandonment on the path of seeing refers to the first ground. So because it says on the 10 grounds of the bodhisattvas, right? So Buddha's taught the respective objects of abandonment on the path of seeing. So on the path of seeing, and second ground on the first ground, and second ground onwards, then Buddha taught the respective objects of abandonment on the path of meditation. 사탐보기 생기 춘이래요.
생기 춘이. 사탐보의 대지 생기 춘이. 예, 소대. 서집이 맞아. 서집이 빠지 생기 춘이 봐. 이 그가 되는데 뭐다 집이 춘이 참. 와. 뭐다 집이 춘이. 뭐다 집이 춘이데 뭐도 좀 와. 뭐다 집이 춘이데 에 종우데 돈다 될라 가다. nyungukila wanja kare thomba kare thomba kare arage sa thomba arage wanja kare nyunguti ine sa nimbal ta so ya ko chili chusu so so mo yo ta mo chu sa wa wushi shi sa ta mo ni niba ni ta thomba chili chusu te chemo chu chili chusu ni na chili chusu mo la chili chusu ne ta rimba ki ya ja mo yo ta de so kanda me so ma ta nyungu de arage wo ka chi pang ja nyungu de nyungu de ta ni ta rimba rimba de ya ta kanda ram sin chi ni rimba ki ya ta nyungu mo ra pa ya ta ko ya ya an dan ta ma pe de ta na si ni shi mo do wa na si ni shi mo ta jong ta de ye ka so sa chi de ka ta si sa le da la ni cha ni su ma de ta ko wa ma ka ta si sa le ko no ji de ko si wa.
So the nature of the mind on the first ground, from the nature of the mind or real nature of the mind on the first ground, up to and including the nature of the mind on the 10th ground, all the natures of the mind on these grounds are the nature with defilements, are the nature of the mind with defilements, and thus they need to be purified. So then we need to go through the gradual purification process. So like, for example, on the first ground, then we need to identify the objects of abandonment by the path of seeing. Then we need to apply respective antidotes to it. And then similarly, on the second ground, then those objects of abandonment by the path of meditation. So like, for example, on the second ground, so they are great, great, medium, and small objects of abandonment. So each of these objects of abandonment, again, has the divisions of great, medium, and small. Like, for example, the great objects of abandonment. So great objects of abandonment can be divided into three: the great, the great medium, and also great small. So they are this great objects of abandonment itself can be divided into three. So similarly, for the medium and also the small one. So the respective, so we need to apply the antidotes to respective objects of abandonment in order to eliminate them. So these objects of abandonment are gradually purified from the coarse one and then to the subtle one. So until the nature transform into the nature in which the defilements are exhausted. So in the Sutra on the 10 grounds, then it talks about, it explains the gradual purification process of the objects of abandonment on the path of seeing and meditation on the 10 grounds of a bodhisattva. using the analogy of the purifications of fine gold. So this is the summary of this paragraph. So this treatise, the Sublime Continuum, in general, it is a treatise of, it is an uncommon Mahāyāna treatise. So its intended disciples are those bodhisattvas on the first ground, are those 10 grounds of bodhisattvas. So the reason being, before one attains the first ground, one hasn't started. One hasn't started to abandon afflictions. So those bodhisattvas before one attains the first ground of bodhisattva, one will not start to abandon afflictions. So those bodhisattvas on the path of accumulation, on the path of preparations, they are learning the path. They are learning the path in order to abandon afflictions. They haven't started abandoning afflictions. So until they attain the first ground of bodhisattva, until they attain the first ground, the first ground of bodhisattva, then they will start to abandon the respective objects of the afflictions. Then the next one is connecting the explanation to the Dharani Svara Raja Sutra. So here it says, following the description of the Tathāgata's enlightened activities, so right after the explanations on the Tathāgata's enlightened activities in the Dharani Svara Raja Sutra, the example of an impure beryl gem is used. So beryl gem or lapis lazuli is used. So the example of an impure, impure means refers to those impurities such as minerals, clays, sediments, and so forth. So using this example of an impure beryl gem to explain the purification process of the defilements of the Tathāgata essence. So using this example of an impure beryl gem or lapis lazuli, then to illustrate the purification process of the defilements of the Tathāgata essence, the basic element. So then the analogy is, O son of the lineage or child of the lineage, the skilled jeweler who is adept at the refining process of gems will take from among the precious jewels, precious gem, which is unrefined, sediment, and so forth. So a skilled jeweler who is an expert in refining gems and so forth, then they know how to extract the gem. They know how to refine the gem, purify the gem of sediments, clays, minerals, and so forth, those impurities, and then take and extract the precious gems. And then, so in this refining process, then it involves 3 washing and also 3 polishing.
was paid show the Tambo Perwa, Madab, nobody, Rapa see each other, Madaba, Rapa de see each other, Nobun Dambas and Jimba, do the Chapalas of the Mamu Gidirwa. That's one, but no good people with that, nobody, when you are coming so when I to like you work with that. What she would. Madaba, Rapa see each other, Tambo, yes, I tree, Nimbu, guessing tree money, that's what the tree money. To a day. Money, a dollarship is he wants you. That dollarship is what it was. He sure for right. He really use the joy. Don't share those this year. That tree to it. Sure, the nigger didn't lose not more. What I was saying to the missing tree. Money. To a china, that day, really sure. That money goes out. How much? Was sure that surely. How many did? That I'm going to.
So first, he washes them in a strong alkaline solution of sea salt and then polishes them with cloth made of hair. So he washes, so this is the first process. So he washes them in a strong alkaline solution. So this is the first washing. And then polishes them with cloth made of hair. So this is the first polishing, the first washing and first polishing. So it involves 3 washing and 3 polishing, right? So this is the first washing, and then this is the first polishing. So he washes them in a strong alkaline of sea salt, and then polishes them with cloth made of hair.
Papa see each other. Shiwachida. You are Shiwachida, 2 or somebody is a flash high as Chula, and of the very chat of your Mara, 7 to 8 is a shy of Simama. They were carrying under Garshus, a sage quality near Kubi, 1. Chicha did the Sage, quality begin, the Naku 1 door. Literally, the budget law number 7, the shield was doing short. She had a budget like what? No sage quality in Naku, truly, George, what, big one, George. They did just a good side, large number, someone to 1,000 church. She was liberty, do Jidan, she was liberty.
So the first one is to remove coarse impurities. So he washes them in a strong alkaline and then polishes them with a cloth made of hair. And then, however, his effort to purify the gem does not cease there, because if he were to cease there, then he will not be able to get the refined gem or the lapis lazuli. So then he continued to wash it in an acidic food liquid made of thick broth, and then polishes it with fine woolen cloth. So this is the second process, and it involves the second washing and second polishing.
Somebody, there's something else about the Shire, this is Shire. Mention the qua, tree money, that Dodge. Right, mention the queer tree one Dodge. That to say that there is something was doing, there's something that she should show. Yeah, that's sure this showed door, so that she was as one. Then door wants to join it, he wants to come up and he wants a party. Yeah, you want to chant it. That tomorrow, the video reaching was station in Charles. I'm going to be reaching, which is the
So up to this point, it's still not a refined lapis lazuli. Therefore, it says again, he does not cease his effort at having done just that. Next is
washed in the powerful medicinal extract of mercury, and polished with fine cloth. So it involves the third washing and third polishing. So now it is pure and free from defilements, then it is called a noble beryl or noble lapis lazuli. The next outline is application to the intended meaning. So application to the intended meaning means correlating this example or this analogy with the intended meaning. So then it says, son of the lineage or child of the lineage, then just like the three stages of purification in the analogy. So three stages of purification referred to in the analogy refers to these three washing and three polishing. So then the Tathāgata, upon perceiving the impure basic elements of sentient beings, perform three stages of leading disciples. So then performs the three stages of leading disciples. So this is the correlation of the analogy with the intended meaning. So it performs these three stages of purification, then relates to the three stages of leading disciples. The first stage is to ripen the continuum of sentient beings, and the second stage is to freedom from the knowledge obscuration, and the third stage is to place them or for them to attain the state of Tathāgata. So the first stage is to ripen the disciples' continuum. The second one is for the disciples to be free from knowledge obscuration. And the third one is for the disciples to attain the Tathāgata essence, or to place them in the state of Tathāgata, to attain the Tathāgata state of Tathāgata, or to place them in the state of Tathāgata. So in other words, these three stages of leading disciples are the stages of leading other modes of guiding disciples to the stages of the path of great capable, medium capable, and small capable being. So basically, these three stages of leading disciples refers to the modes of guiding disciples to the stage of the path of great capable being, medium capable being, and small capable being.
네. 연도가 있어. 와. 나 지금 중국에 간다. 신화 지사가 가서는 심한 연도라 지금 무슨 나 들으시나 지금 와. 이거 중국 가서 심한 연도라 맞죠. 세심하라. 물도라 지야. 또 도자 지금 중국 또 도자도 심한 연도라 지야. 와. 지금 물도 되거든요. 들어봐. 제 심이 연도라. 네. 맞죠. 와. 신득 연도라 맞죠. 제 심이 연도라 지야. 여기 내가 또 세심이 연도라 지야. 들어와.
세디 연로라
세심한 연도라 맞죠. 연도가 다 시고라 지나 지고라. 지금 중국 가서
세시마는 연로라
심한
마기야.
연도라 맞지. 제도 세심한 연도라 지야. 연도 가는 것은 심한 연도 지야 가는 거와. 여기 와 지금 중국들 가다 세대 인터넷에 맞춰 다 보고 있어 가지. 와. 연도가 이미서 상황다. 한 지대시만 먼저 되는 선반 내버지. 선반 내버지. 그래서 또 담보듯이. 와.
So Tathāgata, upon perceiving the basic elements, the what's that? The Tishinshibi, yeah, the basic the Tathāgata Tishinshibi. Yeah. So Tathāgata. So the first stage is to ripen disciples, the continuum of disciples, right? So Tathāgata is on perceiving the Tathāgata essence of sentient beings, which is the basic element, is with defilements. So upon perceiving the basic elements of sentient being, or upon perceiving the Tathāgata essence of Tathāgata essence with defilements of sentient beings, then Tathāgata taught the attitudes of small capable being. So he says, firstly, for the sake of excellently generating the attitude of the beings of small capacity, which is the attitude striving for higher states in the next life through contemplating the drawbacks of death, which comes quickly in this life, impermanence, and the lower realms, and the and the lower realms. So here is the attitudes of small capable being. So this is the first stage of leading the disciples. So here he talks about death and impermanence. Here he talks about death and he talks about impermanence. So so then for the small capable being, so we need to generate fear for lower realms. So we need to generate fear of lower realms. So in order not to fall in the lower realms in next lives, so then we strive for higher states. So he says attitude striving for higher states or higher status. So then we need to generate the thought striving for higher status. So in order to do so, then we need to contemplate the drawbacks of death and impermanence.
我觉得哇，他刚才我们这个群里上班教的，他刚才我都你上班那块地区，那对的，我上学的听不听不懂，去看你现在呀，东啊这边确实是这个，是吧？这个这个啊，没到东啊的，去点什么大的，没到东啊的，大没了，是吧？大没，
你知道，
啊，没大把的，东啊，大把的东啊，大没吧，大没，大没国的，过么脏。 我的路，这里考的就是起来这个，那我已经你觉得我觉得啊那边呢提起这肯定在场上的军民白起的这队伍也是嘛，我的店也是吧，我的店过来就是接起的，过来就是接起的，我感到这个是咱们的没喇叭的那种，这个是啊没喇叭，是吧？
Then the three lineage beings, hearers, solitary realizers, and bodhisattvas, are first taught the distinctive features of the truth of suffering. Those distinctive features are impermanence, the momentary arising and ceasing. Second one, suffering, being conditioned by karma and afflictions. The third one, selflessness of persons, which is a negation of a self-sufficient and substantially existent person. And the fourth one is uncleanliness, falling into the dirty pit of samsara. So in order for the disciples to generate disenchantment towards samsara, so then the the attributes of true sufferings or the distinctive features of true sufferings were taught. So then there are four distinctive features. The first one is impermanence. The second one is suffering. The third one is selflessness. And selflessness in this context is a coarse selflessness. It's not a subtle one. And then the fourth one is uncleanliness.
我在国的就把这个都刚才可以念不，进入抗战的当中去当中成功苦的去讲嘛去讲啊，啊写入，这个娘是那样的，那老把人过去，那把说的对娘是变把的人就把比去了，把这个开始，老把人过去，那是老把人过去，那把说让你去的，到去了，日本这个开始，哇。
Then he says, having given this discourse which caused repulsion in their minds towards samsara, like one would towards entering a flaming pit, the Tathāgata caused those sentient beings who, through finding samsara pleasing, brave and delighted in it, to generate disenchantment towards samsara. So they were thus forced to enter into the antidotes to samsara, the noble discipline of dharma, the three precious trainings that are common to all, regardless of whether or not one has the realizations of the subtle surfaces of persons and phenomena. So here you say is regardless. So whether one has the realization of the subtle surfaces, then Tathāgata forced these sentient beings to enter the noble, to enter the dharma or to engage in dharma through through this, through engaging in the three, through causing them to engage in the three precious trainings. So three precious trainings is the three trainings that we always talk about. So three precious trainings. So whether or not one has the realization of the selflessness, then Tathāgata forced these sentient beings to enter Dharma through the three precious trainings.
那是比早晚是结巴了，我说，那是比早晚是结巴，那这里边就刚才去咱们他们，那刚才这个什么你这个是为是，那我那过来是，是吧？早晚的我是这边过来多了，那咱们成都过来多不了嘛？都刚才咱们去咱们成都过来过来，多把结果的嘛都，咱们哪怕上去，把这个过来做这个嘛，因此是吧？那但是我的希望嘛是咱们哪怕往去是嘛，也是吧？
Yeah. Yeah. So here he says the selflessness of persons taught in this passage is a coarse selflessness. So as mentioned, so the selflessness here is a coarse one, not a subtle one. And then he says the observed object of the path that directly severs the root of existence, the subtle selflessness of persons and phenomena, however, is taught during the later two stages of leading disciples. So in order to sever the root of samsara, so one must cultivate, one must meditate on the subtle selflessness of person and phenomena. So one must meditate on the subtle selflessness, persons and phenomena. So just meditating, just the meditation on the coarse selflessness of persons and phenomena will not free one from samsara.
我听说的，他这阶段做，可能是说的，我洗脚不给，好对吧？我洗脚不嘛做，这个，是给咱就是嘛做的，洗脚不，所以那么，我都把它当然都把它心里带一回头吧，看你心里开发一些，那这个嘛嘛做，这不是咱这个把它这个起是吧？
So in Ayadeva's 400 stanzas, it also talks of the first stage as a path for ripening the continuum, then from the 400 stanzas. So in the 400 stanzas, it also talks about the modes of leading to the stages of the path of three types of beings. So in this text, 400 stanzas, it says, first overcome so it also talks about the modes of leading disciples to the stages of the path of three types of being.
他是叫把看到孙老们把当部多少的看说，他孙老们一把当部的，正好是基本情况来给写，基本情况来给人家讲。看到基本情况，孙老们一边来的看说，你就不往来上的，只孙老们一边来的话，
你给就
给就给了，我们给就给来啥是，我们给就说是孙老们一边来抢，
你给注意来了，
我们给注意来
的，
孙老们一边来抢，刚好是基本情况的，我说做，我做头呀，没这机会的话，做我们做的话。 这是我们都头下的多第三个的故事呢，我在这指定过了，我给这个我指定，你指定要不就没法了，那看到我们都没恐怕早晚他没恐怕早晚不用，是吧？指定要马上，好的，现在嘛一点，你比这个来的，你比就来的，看到要不就帮你，你帮先把指定过来，是吧？你指定啊，看到你指定能把等于吸收，没让他们增加，吸收发现这个多些什么的计划，我说到你们的账嘛也不去掏吧了，指定他们那个去吸收我的是，我让他们那个参加去，没让也不去，他们那个参加，没让他们那个参加是，没让听了说的，那就参这个线下的嘛对吧？怎么的参这个线下的，对吧？没让他们的参这个线下的，嘛对吧去？ 参加结果的什么呢？是吧？但有时候发现这个多些个线路是吧？发现出来什么样的一些关系，是吧？
米驴这么拖了，
我们的要不就吧了，刚刚说，事情那都两个人我学在的话，我说事情那么大我吸收的多的，没让他们那个参加，有时候发现这个多的是，结果的是吧？我等你明白呢？刚刚的你那么大问题。 这个我也是会话，我的，那等等的，实际上这种虽然我们谈不多，是吧的，虽然我们一个谈不多少的，虽然我们一般的谈的没给结果的来的啥，没给结果的也不管，公司出钱我就管的是，是吧？那这些我这个穷人，我们把当习惯了吧。
啲米驴又不拖啦，你自其實自己接觸拍清楚啲樣有咩錯咯？
我想我的是，
多錢咯。So here it talks about the modes of guiding the disciples to the stages of the path of the three types of beings. And the first line it says, first overcome non-meritorious actions. So first overcome non-meritorious actions refers to the small capable being, the stages of the path of small capable being. Then it says non-meritorious actions, right? So non-meritorious actions refers to those non-virtuous actions, the 10 non-virtuous actions. Refer to those as the 10 non-virtuous actions. So 10 non-virtuous actions. So for a small capable being, their main objects of attainment is to attain a higher status in next life or in future lives, right? So in order to attain a higher status in next life, then one must have this. One must have the foundations of attaining higher status, which is morality. So one needs to have a morality of abandoning 10 non-virtues. So these non-meritorious actions refer to those 10 non-virtuous actions, right? So one needs to have a good morality of abandoning 10 non-virtues in order for it to be a foundation for one to attain a higher status in next life. So this morality is the foundations of one's future attainments of higher status. So if one doesn't guard morality well, then one will not be able to attain the higher status of God and human. And in the Lamrim, we also say that in order to attain a good human rebirth, a good basis of human a good basis of human rebirth or human body. So one must have the foundations of pure morality, uh, 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 in relation with the stainless aspirational prayers, or in connection with a stainless aspirational prayers. So what does this stain refers to? And this stain refers to the attachment clinging to this life. So in connections with a stainless aspirational prayers, so that stain refers to the attachment clinging to this life. So it must not be mixed with this attachment clinging to this life. And assisted by the practice of six perfections such as generosity. So in the Lamrim, it talks about it mentioned this in order to attain a good basis of human rebirth, then one must have the foundations of pure morality in connection with stainless aspirational prayer, assisted by or accompanied by the practice of six perfections such as generosity.
더 받아다는 더 받아 인지는 이것은 다 기본이 하는 거와 기본이 받아다는 더 받았으나 어디 가서 가서 나다 공수지 근데 나다 공수지 이 때는 와 나다 공수지 최대는 다 니들이 좋아
난타 공수만
나다 공수 아 나다 공수 공부한다 디와
동반이당
공부한다
천만 매바 당면만 매바
와
남타 고숨
나다 공수와
다도
다 받아다는 거 봐시 다 간다 야다도도 신난다 공수 뒤에 가서 다 간다 동반이 뒤에 뒤에 가서 니들이 좋아지 다 니들이 좋아지 와 니들이 좋아지 예스게 가서 받아다는 거 봐라 받아다는 그래도 무슨 단지 내용이 문제 좋아지 다 받아 와
당신 내 돈이로
단지 공부와 단지 공부네 내가 다 받아 지금 진거什么事情와 지금 거说네我来做这些工作啊
The second line it says, in the middle, overcome the self. So in the middle, overcome the self, then it indicates the medium capable being. So, and for medium capable being, their main objects of attainment is to attain liberation from samsara, right? So in order to attain liberation from samsara, then one must overcome the self. Overcome the self also it also means to overcome the self-grasping. So through what? So through the three doors of purity. So through the three doors of purity. So the three doors of purity is referred to emptiness, silencelessness, and wishlessness. So these are the three doors of purity: emptiness, silencelessness, and wishlessness. So in dependence on these three doors, or through these three doors of purity, then one will be able to overcome the self-grasping and attain the liberation from samsara.
신이 다시 군도 가서 군도와 대의제에서 간다. 대의제에서 또 간다. 디지시리. 그와 산지지 구바. 간다. 다시 담보마비 조지 심비고니. 다시 담보마비 조지 심비고니. 동반이 고미. 그와 다시 담보마비 조지 심비고니. 동반이 고미. 이시가. 이시가 구바. 이거. 집이 침으로 와. 이시가 구바를 돼야 돼. 다시 담보마비 조지 심비토네. 공부한지 내 권이 그 산지를 받아야 돼. 이식을 받아야 돼. 그 집이 치우니 와. 나한테 가서 관자된 가서 나중에 과샤도 싶는 보다 나중에 과샤 예 관이 와. 군도스나 다 간다. 나중에 뭐 되게 차를 제바 군도 와. 차피 간다.
당신 요모박이 맞아. 당신이 당신이 맞아 돼요.
당신이 너무 맞았어.
무슨 또
맞아. 맞아. 당신의 집 보고 가세. 맞아 지 뭐야. 와. 어다 맞아 집 봐. 또 이들 이시 봐.
Nanzin Masero. And third line it says, finally eliminate all views. Finally eliminate all views. So third line refers to the great capable being. So here it talks about one word, it talks about through being conjoined with the first 5 of perfections. Then one meditates on the emptiness and attain the state of Tathāgata. So through being conjoined with the assistance of first 5 perfections, one meditates on emptiness and thus attain the state of Tathāgata. So this is the third line, the meaning of the third line. So he says, finally eliminate all views, right? So eliminate all means that eliminates not only the self-grasping, together with the imprints of self-grasping. So finally eliminate all views. So eliminate all refers to eliminate not only self-grasping and together with eliminates the self-grasping together with the imprints of self-grasping. So that is what eliminate all refers to. So eliminate all, so eliminate the objects of abandonment, and objects of abandonment here not only the self-grasping, and together with their imprints, so are eliminated. And then the last line says, those who understand these are the wise. So those who understand the stages of the path of the 3 types of being are the wise. So are the wise here also means that are skilled in practicing it, or skilled in practice. So small to So when we talk about there are 3 types, there are 3 lineage bearers, or 3 types of lineage bearer. So the 3 lineage bearers refers to hearers lineage bearer, solitary realizer lineage bearer, and bodhisattva lineage bearer. So these are the 3 types of lineage bearers. So in order to attain their respective enlightenment, then one must rely on the objects of meditation. So one must rely on the same objects of meditation, which is the subtle surfaces of person and subtle surfaces of phenomena. So without relying on these objects of meditation, the subtle surfaces of person and phenomena, one will not be able to attain their respective enlightenment, state of their respective enlightenment. So meaning one only rely on the coarse selflessness, then one will not be able to attain respective enlightenment. So then we come to page 30. It says, sharp faculty Mahāyāna lineage beings. So lineage beings or lineage bearers. So Mahāyāna lineage beings or Mahāyāna lineage bearers, the same, a different translation only. So sharp faculty Mahāyāna lineage beings thoroughly established with valid cognitions at the very beginning. So thoroughly established with valid cognitions, and then they make the promise to practice. So thoroughly established with valid cognitions also means that they must find correct reasoning for doing so. So once they find this correct reasoning with valid cognitions, then they will make the promise to practice. So without seeing it, then they will not make the promise to practice. And those who do not see the correct reasoning and make the promise to practice are of doubt faculty. So the phrases that talks about the sharp faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers and dull faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers, basically, in brief, talks about for sharp faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers, they first realize the meaning of emptiness, then they generate bodhicitta. For dull faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers, they first generate bodhicitta, then realize the meaning of emptiness.
你这样好搞吧去，
嗯
不把嘛这不你把它好搞吧去，是吧？不把不你把你生命来吧，对吧？那得接受，但是你当这个三七不都把小的当这个身体开始，那就来不的，那就当把你听到的，也就是那你身体到那个。
嗯。So for those sharp faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers, so in order for them to make a promise, thinking for the sake of all sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. So in order for them to make such promise or commitment, then they must first establish well with valid cognitions about the need for attaining the state of enlightenment for all sentient beings and the ability to attain the state of enlightenment for all sentient beings. So these sharp faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers must first establish well with valid cognitions the two. So the two refers to the need for attaining the state of enlightenment for all sentient beings and the ability to attain state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So having first established well with valid cognition the need and the ability to attain the state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, only then they will make the promise in order to, for the sake of all sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. Only then they will make such a promise. So before they make such promise, they will establish well these 2 points with valid cognitions. Because if they were to make a commitment before establishment with valid cognitions, then they would have generated bodhicitta already. So it is concordant with the statement that was mentioned just now. So those sharp faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers, they first realize the meaning of emptiness, and then they generate bodhicitta. So it's concordant with this statement. So for those sharp faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers, they first establish well with valid cognitions on the 2 points before they make such promise.
我在这样的忙多，那个我这个留言这个学校的话，
就是人家嘛同
忙多当这个我这个，对吧？忙对这样的同学的，应该是我的生活的话，所以谈起来，这本世界谈起来事情，我这个小，看你先结果了，就这样的，对，也我们上去恐怕透过把透你把今天把透干掉嘛，也是我，也有嘛，也是，人家也是我。
So then for dull faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers, then they will make such promise without seeing the correct reasoning, without seeing the correct reasoning, then they will make such promise. So meaning that they will make the promise for the sake of all sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. So they will make this promise without seeing the correct reasoning. So correct reasoning refers to without establishing well with valid cognition the need and the ability to attain state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So if a person makes such a promise for the sake of all sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment without having first established well with valid cognition the need and ability to attain the state of enlightenment for all sentient beings, and that person is of dull faculty.
我这个让那个确切比较我明白的了，他刚才朗朗就是的写为的，我们都不得了他，人就广东也是的，
写的确读者
我确一下，我们明白这个，他朗朗当的写为的哇，
光念的
光念的我们明白的了，朗朗就当的写为的，我们都不得了，人就广东也是哇，
光念就当，
光念就当，也朗朗就当，要这样，这个是我们接的，咱老百姓是我们接的，都送过来的，是吧？我们接的。他刚才我们记得就是送把的，的这个经的就往不弄不的，这朗朗就这样，是吧？朗朗就的，我们看到接的上大家去这的话，现在现在他叫同就这样的同把的多的也是，你这样的嘛，多他家也是，那必须做是吧？
대교라면 이 치료 자유 두야 되게 왕능이 기자로. 아니 남자 주당 리콜라 디시요로. So the intended audience or the intended disciples of this treatise, Sublime Continuum, are the sharp faculty disciples. So in this treatise, it talks about how sharp faculty disciples entered path.
또 그거보다 더 이바스와 이걸 맞추기 되고 인지 친구 하산나다는 집을 계속 내봐라 또 친구 바로 계속 내봐라 손 친구들 선질적인 상이 톡 받고 어디 나는 그게
Call it
내가
그죠.
어디 마크가 받고 뭐래
그것도 땡기. 땡기 신보 하산 남자 배워. 알아서.
계속 내봐 코드 치고는 선질적인 상이 톡 받. 그래서 뭐라 또가 또 그래서 오늘 거다 집어 또 발린 뜻 생기 터는 것도 있어 뭐라 터는 거 다시 본디 시작 그래서
Possible, yeah. So here it says, furthermore, they realize the need to attain Buddhahood for all sentient beings, and then they realize that it is possible to attain Buddhahood. So possible here, another translation for this word is ability. So one has the ability, or one is able to attain Buddhahood. So it says, so they realize the need to attain Buddhahood for all sentient beings through a full comprehensions of the method for generating compassion, the superior pure intention, and another translation for this is special pure attitude, and so forth. Then through realizing emptiness together with its retinue, they then realize that it is possible, or one has the ability to attain Buddhahood. So as mentioned just now, for those sharp faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers, they see the reason, right? Or they see the reasoning, or they establish well with valid cognition the need and the ability to attain the state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. And they realize it through this, for the need to attain the state of enlightenment, and they, through realizing emptiness, then they realize the one is able to attain the state of enlightenment.
얘가 답변이 쉬워는 것은 오늘 것들다 답아 ጻ되는 줄로 줘라 오늘도 방송도 누가 대다지 고도 그렇지 뭐라 오늘 것들라 답아 ጻ되는 줄로 줘라 정말 또 오늘도 좀 같이 예 고도 우리 예세 요거 다 오늘 것들이 답아 되는 줄로 줘라 그러다 오늘도 가도 오늘도 소화돼 쉬러 버리는 예세 내가 지금 아주 답아 되는 내가 말해서 오늘 것들이 답아 되는 예세나 얘가 누가 진짜 가르도 이 답아 되는이나 이 토야 누구도 상황 찌부치는 와 찌부치는데 답아 되는 줄로 지야지 뭐도 대가서 답아 되는 일로 진짜가 뭐도 되는 줄로 지금 많이 쓰고 와 어디에 된다들 때 공도만 된다서 싸우니 오는 걸 답아 되는 줄로 지워라 또 뭐도 상황 그거 무엇으로 와.
So based on this, it should be understood that for sharp faculty beings to even generate a mind seeking mere liberation or realizations of emptiness must precede that. So meaning that for a sharp faculty beings to even generate a mind seeking mere liberations, they will also establish well with valid cognitions, or they will check or analyze well the need for doing so and the ability to do so. So meaning that sharp faculty beings, even just to generate a mind seeking mere liberation, they will do so. So don't mention that for the sake to make the promise that for the sake of all sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment, then they will establish well with valid cognition. So in brief, its meaning is, for those sharp faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers, they will first realize the meaning of emptiness, then they generate bodhicitta, or they make the promise, make the promise for the sake of all sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. So make such promise later, after the realization of emptiness. And for those down faculty Mahāyāna lineage bearers, they will first generate bodhicitta, making such promise, and then realize the meaning of emptiness.
那么很多是蛮多现在给我，但他实际不是他的实际主要的所有啊，就是很多现在给我对吧？很多在意，他实际变多大，是东西这边多，很多送的叫，很多现在叫送油啊，那点点多差不多啊，多了我们但都基本不是不能多，是常常啊这个不要跟都或者是多的话，那等到我们这些给他都做了是吧？但很多现在叫地方学，但是。很多同步的，我觉得我的这个话，
So just now we talk about at the beginning of the class, and we say that under the outlines of connection to scripture, so there are three divisions. So one is how it was taught in the Sutra on the 10 grounds. So we have the connection. The second one is connecting the explanation to the Dharani Svara Raja Sutra. So we have already covered the connection to these two scriptures. So now we will come to the third one, connection to other sutras, which is on page 32. Page 32. So in terms of meaning, the meaning in other sutras is the same as the meaning in the previous two sutras.
很多现在教的这些看到，我是这个体系课上已经那么大了，这上级体系。有世界探究了以后，对了过来，都对起来，他觉得多一些，都对起到了，他觉得多一些嘛，好了，这是下来的，但是不能去，是吧？上去很多有啊，那被机关下我说，这上来的有个去年，是吧？这上来的要讲今年不同啊，这些情况是叫点，这些情况是叫呢，要点同啊很多，那别的是吧？点同啊很多，那生起来呢，一起去年，让他们别些的吧，他们谁上来的是吧？ 너 현대 또 가르쳐 무슨 이원서 답이 딱 간다 그리 이지 칸 봐. 장이 넘었다. 장이 넘었다 봐. 이나 봐. 나한테 무슨 생기 장이라. 저 말에 로부지 마요. 생기 장이라. 로부지 좀 쉬바래 마다 장이라 좀 요 말에 쓰고 와.
생기 장시.
뭐 생기 장이라다. 뭐 이거 말와. 장이 왜서 이러고 와. 이래서 아용서 그 디지미 칸. 장이 넘었다 봐. 그 상지지 뭐로 와. 상지 힌트로 世界看起来有关地理的观念是吧？地理的观念很多地现在呢，对别晓得，多地现在呢别晓得，都一些嘛，都一些嘛，啊，这谁说的这是？这谁说的这是对的？别晓得，谁说的这是呢？前嘛的都是把那谁多少啊？谁多前嘛都是把那前嘛的都是他妈那个谁的有啊？是的，前嘛的都是怎么把脏了那个谁说帮啊？谁都不帮嘛，前嘛的都是的。 就是从小话，张妈妈是呢，是生来的，谁都是通过法律是吧？通过法律味道味，有嘛主要是，那先嘛是多虑的，就是说吧，张妈妈说吧，呢，那谁的要不有空我也是，谁都生的有空我也是，这个别晓得吧，是吧？都先嘛那呢，多的先嘛那什么都是会，基本上这谁多都需要吧，呢，那点通嘛吧，都是张妈妈说呢，我张妈说我也是，你张妈别的晓得吧？ ये जमा माजना ऐसे सारे का फोटो को मारे तो डिलीट है सो जिंदा और दूसरे देश हमारे जो डिलीट ऐसे सारे का फोटो को मारे ऐसे मुझे पे देश हुआ
네, 또 생기 장시 나 뒤에 그래서 장신이 디마 요 말와. 생기 장신 디마 요 말. 장신기 디마 요 말이.
또 뭐? 그래서
So, so in the connection to the scriptures, so we didn't go through all the words because, if we were to go through all of them, then it's very difficult to understand as well. So we only covered the meaning of it, the main meaning of it. So come to connection to other sutras, it says, having in mind the thoroughly purified lineage, the naturally pure Tathāgata element, which is suitable to give rise to a Buddha's devoted wisdom and exists in all sentient beings. The Buddhas said in another sutra, just as within stony debris, pure gold exists and is not seen, but obscure, and then becomes visible through the obscuring factors being purified, so too the natural. Yeah, so first we talk about the analogy, and then we talk about the meaning later. So this analogy is same as the analogy in the Sutra on the 10 grounds, using the analogy of pure gold. So yeah, so it says, having in mind thoroughly purified lineage, the naturally pure Tathāgata Rinchen. So when we talk about the nature of our mind, so the nature itself, the nature of our mind itself is free of defilements. So there is no natural defilements in the nature of the nature of the mind. It is only covered by the adventitious defilements. So there is no natural defilements. There is only adventitious defilements that obscure the nature of the mind. So, and because when we say the nature of the mind is free of defilements, because the nature of the mind is luminous. That is, the nature of mind is luminous. So it also means that the nature of the mind is free of defilements, is only obscured by adventitious defilements. So, and then with the analogy of stony debris, just as within stony debris, pure gold exists and is not seen. So in the stony debris or the host rock, that cover the pure gold. So in order for this pure gold to be seen, then we must first purify or remove the stony debris, then sediments, clay, rocks, and so forth. So we must remove the whole rock, stony debris, sediment, and so forth. Then this pure gold will be seen. So we must, So in order, then we will see the pure gold. Yeah.
特别被别晓得，特别典型的我在，典型的话，那个谁三类的有讲，都是先嘛了是吧？是不是的，痛，没痛啊，没痛啊，这些用是，从嘛然后是吧？呢，这些先嘛了都了是吧？上嘛说呢，你痛啊，心多，我这你痛啊，是吧？也痛啊，心多，身体的，你呢，一直轻。 那身体的话，那身体今天呢，是了看到一级别去年，让一些我打过去一个人是，
一些去年，
我这个去年，让一两把打过去一个人是，让一两把打过去一个人那样，哎，跟自己，他拿过他，对，是吧？这个是个普通样的事，是吧？我是身体的，今天呢，就是去年，让一两把打过去一个人的，跟自己两把打过去一个人，这个是个普通的嘛意思。 我定的话，应该是共同买一次，对吧？年纪那么多，年纪那么多，这个是共同买一次。有的是你觉得，身体群里让你那么大把钱，有的是，
身体有了，
身体群里，让你那么大把钱，有的是。
身体有了，等于是为群里，
群里，身体的群里，让你那么大把钱，有的是身体的，是吧？ 有的人呢呀，非常一两把刀把的，年纪那么多了是吧？对他个军的，是个共同个嘛，还是了，好嘛的是，也是非常好。
这些是为圈里有的话，这身体有了，这是为圈里有的。
这些你们老来讲，是大了的。
这是为英国。So, and then becomes visible through the obscuring factors being purified. So, obscuring factors refer to those that obscure the pure gold. So those stony debris and so forth, sediment and so forth. So when the obscuring factors are purified, then the pure gold will become visible. So too, the naturally pure nature of Tathāgatas exists in this world of sentient beings, but is obscured by the conception of true existence and not seen directly. So meaning the naturally pure nature of Tathagatas exists in this world of sentient beings means that in the continuum of sentient beings, the nature of Tathagata that is naturally pure exists, but is obscured by the conceptions of true existence. It is obscured by this true grasping and thus not seen directly. So this nature of Tathagatas also refers to the Tathagata essence.
그리고 아까다 나저배 생기지가 답아 가들로나 답 대사서 뭐시 비니고 되어시 비니고 라긴나 거다 봐지 해야지
From the incident.
됐다 뭐라고 봐 봐지 요렇게 인지 난도 이게 무엇을 보고 말해서 뭐 빼셔봐이나 그 장제 조나봐 그래서 조나봐 저 빼셔지고 봐 나 장제 도나비 그래서 조나비 주시 되어시 비니고 봐 저게 조나비 되어시 비니고 라긴나 거다 봐지 해야지 열에 이 인지라서 내가 이게 장제 조나봐더니 되어시 비니고 주니께 무슨 통보고 말해서 그래서 통보고 말해
咁地是因果定光速度通用嘛？
통보고 말해 그런 인지기 뒤에 좋아 이게 인지기 뒤에 하는 것이 네 되어시 비니고 주니께 무슨 통보고 말해 좋아
咁地是因果全定光速度通用嘛？通말이
마토토마토 이제까지는 인지기 때 이게 됐어 좋아 인지기 뒤에
So meaning in the continuum of sentient beings, there exists the Tathagata essence, the basic element, but is obscured by the true grasping. Thus is not seen directly. So for example, so the meaning is, so in the continuum of sentient beings, there exists the Tathagata essence, the basic element, or that is naturally pure, and however is obscured by the true grasping, thus is not seen directly. So for example, bodhisattvas on the path of accumulation and on the path of preparation, in their continua there exists the Tathagata essence, the basic element. However, it is obscured by the true grasping. Thus, they are unable to directly see the Tathagata essence or the nature of Tathagatas, Tathagata nature.
그리고 아까다 그 빼셔 생기 된다 싶어서 정말 발라 빼셔 이봐 나 정말 봐 맞지 장세 정말 봐요 동요 그래서
맞죠.
무슨 포도가 말해 네 포도야 가르쳐서나 덴지꾼다 덴지꾼다 아주 뭐 덴지꾼다 사면서 아주 뭐 봐이나 대화 힘이 못 되는 소 포도 그래서
덴진군나 당 사면 라서 봐라.
덴지꾼다
당 사배.
덴지꾼다
유사.
덴지꾼다 하는 이거로 덴지꾼다 사면 뭐 봐이나 대화 힘이 하고 지지세 하긴 넘버 답아디 열에서 여가서 때문에 무슨 포도 그래서 무슨 포도 그래서
대신시비 감대신시비 인보 균이대 원수도 통보이로.
그래서 수 일을 잡아. 여기 시제.
That's right. Yeah. So in the example that we mentioned, that bodhisattvas on the path of accumulation and on the path of preparation, they are unable to directly see the Tathagata essence, the basic element. In other words, is the Tathagata nature. So they are unable to directly see the Tathagata natures in their continua because it is obscured by the true grasping. So who is able to see this? Who is able to see this Tathagata nature? In other words, the Tathagata essence, the basic element directly. So those who have abandoned the intellectually acquired true grasping, together with its seeds, will be able to directly see the Tathagata nature in their own continuum. So those who have abandoned the intellectually acquired true grasping together with their seeds will be able to directly see the Tathāgata nature in their continua. In other words, they will be able to see the Tathāgata essence, the basic element in their continua. So we say that whenever so when one whenever one abandons the intellectually acquired true grasping together with his seeds, then one will be able to see the Tathāgata essence, the basic element in their own continua, right? So to give an example, for those who are able to directly see the Tathāgata essence in their continua, for example, those who are on the first ground, so those on the first ground, so whenever they abandon the intellectually acquired true grasping together with their seeds, so whenever they abandon this intellectually acquired true grasping together with their seeds, then they will be able to see the Tathāgata essence, the basic element in their continua. So this is the example for those who are able to directly see the Tathāgata essence, the basic element in their continuum. And like, for example, those who are on the first ground. So those who are unable to see, directly see the Tathāgata essence in their continuum, like for example, besides the example that I mentioned just now, so another example can be ordinary beings. So those on the first round, so they will be able to they are able to see they are able to directly see the Tathāgata essence, the basic element, because they have generated in their continuum the actual antidote to the intellectually acquired self-grasping, the true grasping, sorry, because they have already generated in their continua the actual antidote to the intellectually acquired true grasping. So in other meaning is to apply one has generated in their continuum the antidotes to the obscuring factor, so that which obscures, which is intellectually acquired true grasping together with the seeds, right? So why do we say that those on the third ground will be able to directly see the Tathāgata essence, the basic element in their continua, is because they have generated in their continua the actual antidote to the intellectually acquired true grasping. Thus, they are able to directly see the Tathāgata essence, the basic element.
다 드마 타다 세바 드마 타다 세바나 드마 타다 세비 저와 뒤에 가디 손 들어와 저와
Tathāgata sevana.
드마 타다 세바로와
Mm.
그치 드마 타다 세바 간다로와 드마 로부지 드마 마지다 인지 바사가 좀 마스마로와 마샤지 드마 타다 세바나 드마 타다 세비 저와 뒤에 양다가도 상지 취 고마다 리싱기기나 요 말이지
Because the Timatara Seva.
드마 타다라 드마 타다 세바나 드마 타다 세비 저와 어디 저러와 어디스나 토마토다 나와 이 주고스나 디고레 토마토다 가디 세바이나 나와 되니 야다바도 산지 주주 거래 마도 예 토마토다 세비 나와 되다 senji 길라 요마 와 senji 아주 서주바이나 요마 서주바 땅 senji는 또바 표시도 와 senji는 맞아 또바 표시도 서주바 들어와 서주바 이제 서주바로 토마토다 세비 와 요마
Timatara Seva.
토마토다 세바 요마 토마토다 세비 나와 되니 다리 들어가야 되는 산지 취주고 주고 돌고래서 주고래서 와
독일이 상해 주고래 심진기 그다 심진기 또바 토슈디 사주바
서주바로 와
사주바이나 양 비규라
하나 세비 더 토요 말했어 뭐 하나 세비와 뭐 하나 세비 뭐가 토요 말했어 뭐 하나 세비 더 가지고 봐이나 주고 돌고 와 산지 주고 돌고
So whenever one exhausts all defilements, in other words, whenever one attains the exhaustion of all defilements, one attains the separations of such exhaustions, then one attains the Buddha's the truth body of fact complete Buddha. So I repeat. So whenever one exhausts all defilements, or whenever one attains the exhaustions of all defilements, then that separations of the exhaustions or the true cessations of that exhaustions is the truth body of the Buddha. So that separations of the exhaustions or the true cessation of that exhaustions is the truth body of a perfect complete Buddha. So meaning, whenever one attains the exhaustions of all defilements, one become Buddha. One attains the truth body of a perfect complete Buddha. So that separation of exhaustions or true cessations of that exhaustions is the truth body of a Buddha. So even the highest realizations of a sentient beings, which is the 10th ground itself, in their continuum, in the continuum of those who are on the 10th ground, are unable to attain this separation, which is the exhaustions of all defilements. So even those bodhisattvas on the 10th ground, in their continuum, they haven't attained the separation, which is the exhaustions of all defilements. So whenever one attains these exhaustions of all defilements, one attains the truth body of a perfect complete Buddha.
다 간다 도도시네 신기기가 바빠니디 주고 요 말해서 그러와 신기기기라 바빠니디 주고 요 말해서 어디 것도 말아요
심진기교라.
바빠니디 주고 요 말해 뜻은 사람 요 말해서
자반인den기 기초고 요 말.
그리고 신기기가 바빠니 주고 내려오다 신기사
So in brief, in the continuum of sentient beings, there is no truth body possessing the two purities. So I repeat, in brief, in the continuum of sentient beings, there is no truth body. There is no truth body that possesses the two purities. So this truth body that possesses the two purities only exists on the Buddha ground.
That's what I want to tell you. Can't do it, to show it. Can't do it, to the back and that. I got more so that we are going to do some I want to come to this issue. You can to show it. That to do also the relation in the need to be the relation of the contact. That don't know whether a lot possible. Those in a company, still not thinking of the get the someone. 쉬어야 다 굳이 참고도 그 미리 대도 말아. 다들 한번 말을 쉬어야 미뤄.
그러면 내가 라바수 나오라 둘이
뒤로 라바스만 뒤로 그래. 간다 칸 동시에 쉬어라. 칸 동시에 쉬지 말아. 이래. 내가 또 대단하다 하고 뒤로 칸 동시에 쉬고 뒤로 어디 다른 데는 맞을 때 지금 또 말아. 네. 뭐
Yeah. So next is the next class we are going to briefly talk about this outline identifying the purifying factors. So there are 60 factors. There are 60 factors that acts to purify the basic elements. And since there are 60 factors and we are unable to ascertain all these 60 factors, and however, these 60 factors can be included within the 3 trainings. Therefore, the 3 trainings are the training in morality, training in concentration, and training in wisdom. So we are going to discuss about this in class, in next class. Oh, they are sharing. They love us before. Oh. Ini lava sung ko la hindi jising.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I want to ask about intellectually acquired. When you say intellectually acquired, generally it would mean that you acquired from somewhere, probably outside the mind. But it's not the case, isn't it? So it's a bit confusing to say that intellectually acquired is actually part of the mind itself, isn't it? And if that's the case, then it is not something that you obtain from somewhere, isn't it? This is my question. It's part of the mind rather than something that the mind acquires from somewhere. Is that right?
Yeah. So Kishala, just sorry. So when we talk about these 60 factors, so we will not go through these. So because we are unable to ascertain these 60 factors. So basically, these 60 factors can be included within the 3 trainings. So I will not explain it further. So the next time we are going to talk about So next class we are going to talk about so next class we are going to start from here from summary. So ini di kaza tensin gunda saya di gunda gitu na ini di kari resa kaisna gunda ina senji si na yang kaza di luo tawo yang intellectually acquired tawo ina yang chilo ne juo tawo gitu na yo resa ini di gunda saya di yang chilo ne juo ma was ina是性与差距的 was ini ina
인디피가 된 완도대 인디피가 영우들 인디가 다스미 시고래서 바라게 제시고 바라 아무도 바바게 제시고 나 단지들라 인지다 군다스미 시고 군다니 시고디 나 단지들 인지다 군다니 시고디 군다스 사탕도 가서 방고라는 인디의 방송이요 나 용 인지들인데
군다에 대 사탕보
사탕도 가서 공부해去当这滚大有啊，去当这滚大的啥他们关系共同的，人家的把啥结果不的嘛，共同的，啥结果不的嘛，你把的嘛，他不清了，清不清的嘛，没听的。如果说滚大小的话可以说，是吧？我说去当这个了，滚大的人些是你些，
眼睛的了，
我今天这个，滚大的人些你些，但滚大是那话，人些是那他们的是吧？一个是修的，他人家不朋友呢。
现在你得看咱七六年九吧，两那的性比差距吧，对不对？
好像我认为，你是归到了别的时候，我觉得，人家给不满意思。是吧？你的归到这个小伙，
真正了不的。
你是归到你这个卡拉那些他哪怕的。
那说，这样子简单运气这个，so when we talk about this self-grasping can be divided into 2, the subtle one and the coarse one. So when we talk about intellectually acquired self-grasping, true grasping, it is the coarse one, and think the spontaneous one, yeah, the spontaneous thank you, the as a thank you, that's spontaneous ingredient. Yeah. So one is intellectually acquired, another one is spontaneous by true grasping. So spontaneous true grasping is the subtle one. So when we talk about intellectually acquired true grasping, so basically it refers to the coarse true grasping. So the coarse true grasping, which is abandoned on the first ground. And the subtle true grasping, the spontaneous one, can only be abandoned on the first ground onwards, and before that, one will not be able to abandon this spontaneous subtle true grasping. So intellectually acquired true grasping basically refers to the coarse true grasping.
我也参与，这个小鱼的主要的节目你说，
Yeah. So I will stop here. If you have any questions, and you can ask in next class. So just now I say spontaneous true grasping, right? It's innate true grasping. Sorry, innate true grasping or the intellectually acquired. So not spontaneous. And this innate true grasping can only be abandoned on the first ground, on the eighth ground. Before that, one will not be able to abandon it.
很好的例子，我了对这个地方多就，我说这个怎么处理这个必须得怎么怎么这个是呢，这个可以给你理解的吧？你这个你学会的这个的，那可以他们就那么是我的过去的东西，做过去可以把这个这个吧，你记得，大家马上的你也是把你的东西，还是得有，马上的你也得去世界这里的这个这个地方的上面什么你的话。
We conclude with dedication. We dedicate the roots of virtue to the flourishing of Buddha Dharma and to the excellent happiness of all sentient beings. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teaching, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and live long to have excellent health, and may all their holy wishes and enlightened activities spread in all directions and accomplish instantaneously. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved teacher, Geshe Lama Tsopa Rinpoche. May the holy wishes and enlightened activities of the unmistaken reincarnations of Rinpoche be accomplished instantaneously and spread in all directions. We also dedicate these roots of virtue for the world peace, and may excellent happiness prevail in the world. May wars, conflicts, disaster, natural disaster, pandemic, diseases be pacified immediately.
Thank you.